Hello, I hope I'm live. Am I live? Okay, it says I'm streaming. Hi guys, this is Jackie M, and I live stream here on Twitch 3 times a week at least. And today is I'm going to be doing using sticky rice. Okay, this is going to. Okay, this here, by the way, is an Optimum pressure cook pro, and it just talked to me because I put my hands on it, but this is my new little gadget. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. And by the way, quick shout out first of all to Prestige Home Appliances, PHA. Website is prestigehomeappliances.com.au. Very excited to tell you guys a little bit more about it because of a good cause that they're supporting. You see my hashtag there that says help Wyatt. Like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, but let's get all the credits out of the way. Another quick shout out to Lenovo Australia for the laptop I use for my live stream. I'm using a Yoga Y700, and let me just quickly check my, okay, cool, right here. And also Rode microphones for the microphone I use for my broadcast. And thank you again guys for joining me. You notice I had a haircut. This was at Just Cuts, which is kind of like a budget haircut place here in Australia. So I quickly ducked out in between dropping my kid off at school and rushing over here and all that. But yeah, today I am doing and oh yeah, before I go on any further, if you're watching this anywhere else at all, because we're sharing the links out, hop over to Twitch where I can actually see your chat messages come through, okay? Especially if you want to ask me questions, if you want to just say hello, tell me where you're watching from and all that sort of stuff. And also to ask me questions about this device. Like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in a little bit. But yeah, so today I am doing sticky rice, okay? And this is, again, one of those things that are accidentally vegan, okay? Like I said, I've been on this every Friday my time. I've been on this quest to kind of like do vegan recipes. I don't know how long this is going to go on for because I don't know how much interest there is out there. So if you are a vegan lover or you know lots of friends who are vegan, let me know in the chat, and I can decide whether I keep going, because like I've mentioned this before as well, it's a little bit of a struggle for me to keep cooking all this vegan food, which, you know, while every vegan I've met thinks it tastes terrific, it's not something I really, you know, is part of my diet. Let's say hello. We have Just Cuts in New Zealand too. They're good and cheap, right? Yeah, I know. And they did a pretty good job, I have to say. This costs less than half what it costs me to usually cut my hair. And the only reason I went to them is because my hair grows so fast and it drives me insane because it just looks really feral. And I messaged my regular hairdresser who lives like quite a long way away from me. I keep putting my hands on this thing and it keeps trying to talk back. Okay, so I probably shouldn't touch it. Yeah, and he never responded. I said, look, can I get a haircut? He didn't respond. I waited 2 more weeks, and then finally I thought, oh, look, there's just a Just Cuts just over at my local shopping mall. It's never like been kind of like within my sphere of consciousness to go anywhere except my own hairdresser. I've been going to him for the last probably close to 10 years now. But yeah, I think I might actually stay with Just Cuts for just over 30 bucks, you know, compared to the closer to 100 bucks I pay for usually. But anyway, yeah, so sticky rice, and I'm going to use this pressure cooker. I haven't tried it to cook sticky rice with yet. In fact, the only thing I've used it for was to cook rice. If you saw my broadcast a couple of earlier this week, I used this to cook Hainanese chicken rice, okay? But I'll just show you, open. You can tell I'm very new to this. This only arrived like last Friday, and like I said, I've only used it to cook rice with. But it shouldn't be too difficult to cook sticky rice with it. So this is a very heavy based pot, right? In a pot. And I'm going to put it in there. But if you're not familiar with sticky rice, it's usually technically called glutinous rice, okay? And this one here says Thai glutinous rice. I don't know if there are other types of glutinous rice, but I've really just, you know, any type of glutinous rice, I would imagine would be fine, but this is what it looks like. And you can tell the difference between glutinous rice or sticky rice and regular rice by virtue of the fact that glutinous rice tends to be more opaque, okay? Usually regular rice looks a little bit translucent. Glutinous rice looks like just very, very opaque, okay? It's like kind of like a creamy white color. And then you can get black glutinous rice, but we won't go into it today. But usually, if you go look at any recipes about using glutinous rice, right, it tells you to soak it overnight or soak it for 8 hours before use. But we're going to try and cook it in this pressure cooker and see if we can just fast track it a little bit, okay? And usually they ask you to steam it, but you know, in all honesty, when you steam rice, you get the nice kind of like loose grains, right? But for what we're using it for today, I'm doing two different things, right? For what we're using it today, you don't need it to be loose and kind of like delicate like that. You know, it can be a bit sticky. I want to take advantage of the stickiness in it. Okay, just hang on. Okay, so I'm just going to, usually you would be, you know, asked to rinse out your rice and all that as well, but let's just get this amount. This is probably about, I guess, 2 cups. Okay, so got this, and let's just cook it straight. Okay, I'm not gonna soak it or whatever. I'm not gonna rinse it or anything like that. So in that goes, and in the rice goes, water goes, and if you know how I cook, you know, everything is kind of like, you know, guesstimating sort of thing, how much water I put in. I think, you know, if you grew up eating rice and cooking rice, you don't even think about how much water, you don't measure everything, but I can appreciate how someone starting out might struggle a little bit. So I guess I put, about 2 cups of water in there. I'm going to put a pinch of salt. I'm making 2 different recipes, like I said, one savory, one sweet, but this, you know, in either case, a bit of salt always helps to kind of like temper the flavor a little bit. So let me just grab some salt. And by the way, guys, if you don't know who Wyatt is, right, go and look up bit.ly, the bit.ly link, bit.ly, bit.ly/help Wyatt, all lowercase. And you'll that will take you to my blog post about who Wyatt is and why we're trying to help him, okay? But like I said, Prestige Home Appliances, who distribute this Optimum Optimum Pressure Cook Pro, they have stepped up to the plate and are helping Wyatt by offering this as a giveaway to you know, to my followers, okay? So this is really exciting. And you know what I want to do, I'm trying to think, should I add the coconut milk now or later? I think I'll add it later. Let's see how we go with this.
Reset time.
Okay, let me just...
Meats. White rice stew. Soup. Porridge.
Okay, let's go with porridge. And it's not technically porridge.
Pressure level.
Okay, pressure level. I might just... Am I increasing that? Set pressure level.
Preset pressure level.
Okay, it's a preset pressure level is what it's saying. Let me have a look.
Slow cook low. Slow cook hot. Simmer. Keep warm. Slow cook low. Slow cook simmer. Keep warm. Slow cook meats.
Okay.
White rice stew. Soup. Porridge. Steam. Braise. Cake. Pizza. Pasta. Roast. Deep defrost. Yogurt. Meats.
Meats.
White rice. Stew. Soup.
Did I miss porridge? Porridge, okay. Okay, we're gonna go with this, okay? I gotta, you know, I never read the manual, right? I gotta figure out the manual a little bit. Let's hit start.
Porridge. Start cooking.
Okay. Did I close it? Close it. Okay. Got it. Okay, let's see how we go with, it's gonna cook for 25 minutes. let's see how we go with it, and then we can play around with it after that. I'm just gonna move this a little bit out of the way. So if you watch my previous broadcast, well, from Monday anyway, where I used this, it does talk to you like Alexa does. Okay, it's quite cute. So that's the sticky rice cooking. And I've got two things that I want to make with it. Like I said, one sweet and one savory. And let's go with the savory first. Okay. So what I want to make is kind of like what we call serunding. Okay, which is kind of like a desiccated, like it can be meat, it can be coconut, but we're just going to use coconut because we're keeping this session vegan. But of course you can, in fact, instead of coconut, or as well as coconut, you can actually add prawns, fresh or dried. You can add like minced meat and whatever else. Okay, so it is a very versatile recipe. But let me get some coconut. If you know anything about me, you know everything I buy is like kind of like industrial size, because I still kind of like run a Malaysian food business. I used to have a restaurant, but I don't anymore, but I do still sell food very, very occasionally. Well, once a week technically, but you know, every now and then. So this was from a 10-kilo bag of coconut, which is a 22-pound bag of coconut. So what I want to do is just add a bit of water to it. Usually we would use fresh grated coconut, but obviously here in Australia that's not as readily available. It's virtually impossible to get depending on which part of Australia you're from. But I'm just using dried coconut and just kind of like adding some moisture just to soften it up a bit, okay? And let me just get the rice out of the way, and then I'm just trying to think through how I'm going to do this because I need a stove, so I'm going to have to grab that. Give me a second. Okay, so you can play around with the flavors in this, okay? Some of the ingredients can be a little bit exotic, but I'm going to try and keep it pretty simple for this particular recipe so that you don't think, oh, I can't make it because I don't have this or I don't have that. Let me grab a pair of gloves. So what I want first is to fry up what we call a rempah, okay, a spice paste essentially. And that's going to be made up of like a combination of onion and garlic and some chilies. Okay, I'm going to first puree all these, but also I might get some lemongrass for this. I've got some in the fridge, so I might just go and duck into the kitchen to grab some lemongrass after this. But just taking the skin off the onion. If you've got any questions at all, hit me up in the chat, right? And then I'll try and keep an eye on it and try and answer them during this broadcast. And if you want to find my recipes, because all my recipes get posted online, they are at jackiem.com.au. They usually show up a couple of days after my broadcast. Okay, so got this. Let me grab the lemongrass. Okay, this is my bag of lemongrass. This is pre-minced. You can buy this frozen here in Australia at your local Asian grocery store. And this is the label here. You can see it, lemongrass mince. And this is what it looks like. I mean, In an ideal world, we would use fresh everything, but obviously not everyone can have access to lemongrass. And if you don't have it, leave it out, okay, it's not a big deal. So I'm going to put this aside, but I'm going to just throw these into my thermocook, which is basically a multi-function kitchen appliance, also by Optimum, by the way. Like I say, go and check out prestigehomeappliances.com.au. You can find out more about this Pressure Cook Pro and also about the Optimum Thermocook that I'm going to use. Alright, the Thermocook is basically kind of like a Thermomix, does all the same functions, and basically
Pressure will be released now.
okay, see what I mean about how it talks to you? Okay, so this is the Thermocook jug, and the Thermocook is a multifunction kitchen device, so it blends, it purees, it makes smoothies, and but it also cooks for you as well, and it steams, so you can actually saute this, right? If I weren't broadcasting this live, I would actually, if I were cooking this for myself, I would actually, once I blend these, I would actually just add oil to it and get it to cook for me, and it stirs it for me as well. So that's the beauty of using something like this. But obviously it doesn't lend itself to great visuals when it's just kind of like, you know, in a closed off environment. So I'm gonna blend it and then cook it over here. Okay, now if I had fresh lemongrass that I had to blend, I could actually throw it in with all these, right? Or blend it first, because lemongrass can be a little bit tougher. So this is it here. This was, yeah, 5 seconds. Okay, this is fine enough. Oh, the chili is hot. So I'm gonna toss all this into this pan here. Spatula. Okay. I bought the chilies at my market that I traded at yesterday. Actually, it's this old gentleman, and he grows them himself, and he sells all the fruit and vegetables at his store by the bucket. So they're $3 a bucket. Bucket is really quite cute, and he sounds so sophisticated that I thought he was probably like someone who came from England or something like that, but it turned out no, he studied drama, apparently, drama and literature or something like that in his younger days. So he sounds like a posh English gentleman, but he's actually Australian. It's quite funny. So this is what we call the rempah, okay? And I'm going to fry it up, and I'm going to throw in the lemongrass. If you want to get a little bit fancy, you can add like shrimp paste and all that, but because we're keeping it vegan and keeping it simple, we're not going to do all that, okay? Sometimes I have to think twice when I'm cooking something vegan, whether in fact everything is truly vegan, because like I said, it's not within my sphere of consciousness to avoid like all dairy and all meat, right? Because I'm not a vegan. So it's a little bit tricky. But as far as I can, yeah, figure out, everything I'm using today is vegan. So there you go. I'm going to throw in some oil. So I'm going to go and, look, let me just take this into the kitchen and grab some oil. Okay, here you go. Just let me say, looking to Steve S. Hi, Stephen. Okay, cool. And by the way, if you're watching from YouTube and you're not aware that this is a live broadcast, it is a live broadcast, okay? So this isn't going to be a short and sweet 30 to 60 second or 2-minute how to cook something video. This is me on Twitch cooking live. And because I'm so used to YouTube, the ecosystem at YouTube, I tend to rush things through, whereas at Twitch, if you're familiar with Twitch and Twitch live streams, you'll know everyone just chills right down. So I'm trying to get myself into that mindset as well. So let me just grab my dinky little stove. I'm just going to scrape the rest of this in there. Okay, so let's move some things out of the way. This here. Okay. And this is just a little camping stove essentially. So far what I've got here is just onion, garlic, chili and lemongrass. Like I say, lemongrass is optional. And you know what? You can add some chili powder to this if you want. I might just do that. Hang on. Okay, so I've got a used pack of chili powder. This is a Malaysian brand. You can use any brands, okay? But if you're attempting a Malaysian recipe, you know, in an ideal environment, you would want to buy Malaysian spices. Because curry powders, all they are essentially are just kind of like different ratios of all these individual spices that you can buy as well. But the Malaysian curry powders will be kind of like configured for Malaysian taste buds, Malaysian recipes, okay? Now, if you're not familiar with Malaysian spices, looks yummy, thank you. If you're not familiar with Malaysian curry powders, right? Usually Malaysian curry powders come in 3 varieties, so each brand of curry powder, like, you know, how in Australia we've got like cloves of India or something like that, and they'll have a curry powder and that's it, right? But if you bought one that says made in Malaysia, whatever brand it is, whether it's a bird brand or like this one here is a Faiza, and sometimes it's Mak City, there's all kinds of different Malaysian brands. But they don't produce just one type of curry powder. They usually produce 3 different types, okay? At least 3 different types. And usually, basically, the three broad categories of curry powder are meat curry powder, which I'm going to add in here. I'm just going to add a couple of tablespoons worth in here, okay? Meat curry powder. Like this is, it will actually say meat curry powder on the label. Okay, I'll just sprinkle some on my Thermocook Pro, so I'm going to dust it off. And then you'll get fish curry powder, and you usually get what they call rendang curry powder or rendang spice mix. Okay, those are the 3 broad categories. Sometimes you get even more drill downs than that, okay? But all of them are vegetarian. Just because it says meat curry powder, it doesn't mean that you can't use it in a fish dish or a vegetable dish. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that basically it goes well with meat, okay? And it doesn't mean, obviously, that it actually contains any meat in there, okay? And I know, sometimes it may sound that I'm kind of like stating the obvious, okay? But not everyone is on the same level when it comes to Asian cooking. And it's quite funny actually. Last Friday's broadcast, I did a noodle dish, very, very popular in Malaysia, and I said it's the hoisin sauce, and I told people how you kind of like water it down and add a bit of sugar to it, sort of thing, to make it a little bit sweeter and a little bit more diluted, so not so intensely bean, because it's made from ground beans, right? It doesn't taste so intensely ground beany. And because it's called hoisin sauce, hoisin in Chinese literally means seafood, okay? But hoisin sauce does not contain any seafood in it. I posted it in the Malaysian forum, okay? This is a popular, like I said, a popular Malaysian breakfast. And I said, oh, this is an accidental vegan recipe, okay? Because this is what it is. And someone responded, oh, hoisin sauce, how is that vegan? Because I guess that they think hoisin sauce, as in seafood sauce, must contain seafood, but it doesn't, okay? So even we Malaysians don't know everything. And the worst part of it was, I didn't even realize, another Malaysian actually commented, but I really want the sweet sauce that goes with it. In Chinese, in Cantonese, we grew up knowing that sauce as Tim Jiang, which means sweet sauce, literally. But what she doesn't realize is that Tim Jiang, sweet sauce, is actually made from hoisin sauce, okay? So, yeah. It's tough trying to kind of like educate everyone that, you know, like I say, even we Malaysians don't know everything, right? So if you think I'm belaboring some points, just bear with me. So what you want to do with this, as with most recipes, is that the spice paste, the rempah, you want to fry it till the oil separates. You can see, like, you know, the mixture kind of like caramelizes and yeah. Okay, and then you want to season it, and with the seasoning, I'm gonna grab, yeah, I'll just grab a couple of things. Okay, so I've got, if you know my cooking, you know I use if you know my cooking, you know I use chicken powder a lot in it, okay? I'm not getting paid to vlog the product, but it's just something that we Malaysians have no qualms about using. We use chicken powder the way you probably use, or, I don't know, salt, you know, you sprinkle a lot, you know. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's an Australian thing as well, but it's kind of like sprinkling chicken salt on your chips or something like that, right? But we Asians use chicken powder a lot. But if you're vegetarian or vegan, the basically vegan version of it is mushroom powder, okay, or otherwise known as mushroom seasoning over here. You would think that it would taste very mushroomy, but it doesn't. It's very flavor neutral. And again, I'm not getting paid to promote this, but if you buy any Asian vegetarian cookbook or follow any Asian vegetarian recipes from Malaysia or that part of the world, you'll see a lot of reference to mushroom seasoning or mushroom powder as a, you know, base, okay? And all it is essentially, it kind of adds like a flavor enhancer. And, you know, if you can use other brands, right? I've found Western brands of vegetable seasoning or vegetable stock powder to be quite, the flavor can be quite overpowering. So I actually generally prefer to use this. This does in fact contain MSG though, so if you're MSG averse, don't get it, right? Look, if you want, you can just leave it out altogether. It's just like I said, we Asians don't have a hang up about MSG the way some Westerners do. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle some of this in there. Okay. And I'm going to add a bit of sugar as well. And sugar is a little bit, this is a bit arbitrary, the amount of sugar you use. You like something a little bit sweeter, even though this is a savory dish, you know, with Malaysian cooking, we tend to like to temper the flavor a little bit, okay, by adding a little bit of sugar to even our savory dishes like curries or even some soups and stuff like that as well. The Thais like the sugar a lot more than we do, and as do the Indonesians, okay. You might find the same curry in Indonesia, like the rendang or something like that, to be a bit sweeter. So this dish that I'm doing now is actually also Indonesian. So if you were Indonesian, you might want to add a little bit more sugar. I'm putting about, I guess about a tablespoon's worth there. But like I say, if you want it to be more overtly sweet, right, you can put more in there. I'm going to put a bit of salt in here as well, okay? So in that goes. And you can adjust the flavor after everything's mixed through. So we got this, and now I'm going to add the desiccated coconut that's had some water added to it, okay? So in that goes. And we're going to fry it up till it's well mixed through. And then just adjust the seasoning a little bit. So the end product is this is what we would call serunding, okay? And if you fry it dry enough, you can actually store it dry in like containers out of the fridge. the more moisture there is in this kind of serunding, the shorter shelf life they have, right? And like I said, you know, if you want to go fancy, you can add in minced prawn, you can add in minced dried prawn, which is a different animal altogether, or you can add minced meat to it as well, right? But like I said, vegan day today. So let me just turn this up a little bit more. Yeah, Prestige Home Appliances over here. By the way, guys, like I said, if you don't know about Wyatt, why I've got the hashtag Help Wyatt up there, is because I'm trying to help this kid in the USA. I'm based in Australia, okay? So there you go, for what it's worth. And so far, I've got to say, I started this campaign a couple of days ago, and so far, about 95% of the people who have stepped up have been Malaysians like myself, go figure, right? Even though my followers actually cut across all nationalities, all ethnicities and all that, for whatever reason, maybe my words carry more weight in the Malaysian community, but 95% of the sponsors so far have been Malaysian. But guys, if you can help, even just $5, you know, cost of the price of a cup of coffee, right? Go help Wyatt. Situation with Wyatt is why I'm connected to his parents is because I am a member of a parent support group for survivors of a condition called hydrops fatalis, right? Which is the same condition my son had, and hydrops fatalis is a near 100% fatal disease, right, of sickness. And my son made it through. Wyatt made it through, but Wyatt is still very sick. And the doctors haven't figured out what exactly is wrong with him. And since he was born last year, about 10 months ago, the parents have had to make a trip out of town at least once a month to go and see different specialists for more blood tests, and the baby gets distressed all through this. So you can imagine not knowing the future, what the prognosis is. But the parents' finances are drained, and basically I came across the mother's post. The mother's name is Brooklyn, a young couple, right? I'm seriously old, but this is a young couple. And Brooklyn posted on the Hydrops Fatalis parent support group a few days ago, just asking, you know, for advice from other mothers about how they keep up with their medical expenses, right? What fundraising ideas they have. So people were suggesting things like, oh, look, you know, talk to your insurers. And she said, look, her husband's insurance doesn't cover, health insurance doesn't cover Wyatt's condition. And then others were saying, oh, print t-shirts and sell. And then it turned out, basically through the course of the conversation, it turned out that they have to make their next trip next weekend, okay? So, and they need the funds to be able to pay for gas, right? So you can imagine, we're not asking to make them rich, we're not trying to kind of carry them, and we're not trying to build a new house for them or anything. They need money for gas, they need money for accommodation, for food for while they're gone, right? And the husband lost a shift at work this week as well, which is an overtime shift that they depend on. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They lost a shift at work because the company's bosses were going away or something like that for a couple of days. So they're really, really struggling. And what's worse was that I found out that they had to sell their wedding rings to finance their last trip, okay? So they're down to basically nothing. I mean, when was the last time you had to sell your wedding rings or anything, let alone to pay for gas to take your kid to the doctors, okay? So it's pretty sad. And I put the word out, so I had a bunch of people help out. Wyatt's mom has set up a GoFundMe page, but if you go to bit.ly/helpwyatt, all lowercase, right, you'll see my blog post about the story, and in that blog post there'll be a link to Wyatt's GoFundMe page, and also a link to buy my cookbook if you decide that you want a cookbook. I'm donating my cookbook to Wyatt's family, okay, so I don't keep a cent for myself, okay. The only money that will come out from the purchase of the cookbook will be the postage cost to get it to you. So let me taste test this quickly. This is pretty spicy. It needs more sugar. And Prestige Home Appliances, how they stepped up was essentially just in the last half hour before I went live on air, I reached out to them. They're the people who distribute this Pressure Cook Pro, and I said, look, would you be interested in giving away one of these to someone who would help Wyatt? And they said, sure. Okay, so isn't that amazing of them? Go and look up their website, Prestige Home Appliances, and find out more about this Pressure Cook Pro, right? And if you go and help Wyatt, and Cyan, my assistant, is going to post a couple of other things about it. If you go and help Wyatt, basically share it, share the GoFundMe page, and do hashtag help Wyatt, and do and like the Prestige Home Appliances Facebook page, and you'll be in the running to win one of these. Okay, I don't care if you contribute $5 or $500, you're going to be like on equal footing to win this. Okay, but unfortunately the only drawback is I can only send this to an Australian address. So you can enter if you're in the USA, but I'll have to only ship it to if you've got a friend here in Australia. Okay, that's the only thing. But at this point, I think all but 2 of my supporters for Wyatt's cause have been Australians. So if the trend continues, it probably won't be that big a deal. But I mean, even if you're not in Australia, look guys, please help Wyatt if you can. Like I said, $5. What's $5? We go out shopping and we don't even think about the money we spend. And this young couple have had to sell their wedding rings, and they're holding a yard sale this weekend as well. Before I stepped up, they were planning a yard sale to get rid of more stuff so they can fund. Like I said, they're paying for gas, you know, they're paying for lodging, because they need to be close to where they're running tests on Wyatt. So we're not sending them to go swim with whales. We're not sending them anything fancy, right? We're just trying to cover some of their expenses. They've been doing this for 10 months. If you can imagine the trauma of having a sick child, we want to be able to show people what we can do to help out. Okay. This needs something else. I'm going to put a bit more of this mushroom seasoning in it. This part of the whole agak style of cooking that I embrace. Agak, like I said, means guesstimating, okay? So it's like you guesstimate how much you need, and then you cook instinctually, basically. So I've got this mixture, and there's 2 ways to approach this particular recipe, right? But like I said, you can have it quite dry, or you can have it quite moist the way it is now. Okay, let's leave it moist at the moment. And then while we're waiting for the rice, it's got 5 minutes to go. Let's see how it turns out. While we're waiting for the rice, we'll also get started on the next recipe as well. Okay. So if you've used sticky rice in your cooking, go and comment it over there in the Twitch chat and say, yay, you have. If you've no idea what it is, say, nope, no idea what it is. Or if you've been wanting to learn, say likewise as well. Okay, so this is quite, like I said, quite still quite wet, but it will kind of like continue to dry up a little bit more. So let's put this aside. And I'm sorry if you watched my Wednesday broadcast, right? I had Noah here with me, and he was super, super disruptive. I know some people get, every time I do these broadcasts and Noah gets disruptive, on YouTube I get a lot of thumbs down, okay? Either people don't like the fact that there's a kid running around, or they just whatever else, okay? So I'm really, really sorry about it. He was so disruptive, he actually broke 2 of the dishes while I was doing this. And like I said, people will accuse me of child abuse or child endangerment and all that sort of stuff. But you know, you're live all day, what can you do? But you know, he was completely safe and he's fine, in case you're wondering. Okay, so next step, another saucepan over here. And this time I'm going to prepare a sweet recipe, okay? And I'm going to use something really, really exotic, and the reason for it is that it's been sitting in my fridge in my freezer for about 3 months now, so I need to use it up. But absent this ingredient, you can actually use bananas or something like that, right? But we're going to use this, and it is durian, okay? If you're Asian, you will know durian is what we call the king of fruits, okay? This is actually from Thailand. This is the cheapest variety you can find, okay? Durian is kind of like a very strong, pungent, soft, creamy fruit, right? But like I said, if you don't have durian, you don't want durian, you don't like durian, you can use bananas, you can use mangoes even if you like, right? I'm just using durians because I have to use that up. And the other ingredient I'm going to use is palm sugar, okay? You can see this. Now, palm sugar is a tricky one because in... let's go to find a pair of scissors. I shall be back. Okay, palm sugar is a tricky one because I always tell people, look, Asian ingredients, like I do mostly Southeast Asian cooking. If you're familiar with your geography, or if you're not, Southeast Asia basically covers countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Burma, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Philippines, right? Those countries are what we call Southeast Asia. And usually when I tell people to go shopping for ingredients they need for my recipes, I'll tell them to go and visit a Southeast Asian run grocery store, okay? So if you went to a Japanese grocery store, you probably may struggle to find some of the ingredients I'm using, okay? There are crossovers, obviously. Sticky rice you should be able to find in a Japanese grocery store, but you might not be able to find, you probably won't be able to find palm sugar, okay? This is the palm sugar. Now, having said that, even within Southeast Asia, palm sugar means different things to different parts of Southeast Asia, okay? So this isn't helpful, I know. But what I grew up knowing as palm sugar looks like this, okay? They come in logs, and when you cut them open, this is what they look like. They're like a dark brown color, okay? This one is actually from Indonesia.
Pressure will be released now.
Okay, sounds like the rice is done, so let's check that. Okay, can I open it? What does it say? Okay, stop. Cancel. What's it say? I need glasses. Pressure release. Okay.
Keep warm.
Okay, it's still releasing pressure, that's why I can't open it at a moment. But yeah, palm sugar, this is what I grew up knowing as palm sugar, okay? Now, different brands of palm sugar will come in different like levels of intensity in terms of like how dark they are, right? Okay, this one is from Indonesia, and in Indonesia there are a number of different nuances as well. There are different varieties of palm sugar. They all say palm sugar. If you can read it right down the bottom in fine print, it says palm sugar, but in Indonesian, right, it says gula aren. Okay, gula means sugar. In Malaysia, we call it gula melaka, okay? And the translation also will say palm sugar. And in Indonesia, they don't just have gula aren, they have gula jawa as well. Translation will also say palm sugar. And then they have gula kelapa, which says coconut sugar. But it's very, very similar. So you could, it will look the same.
Pressure will be released now.
So it will look the same, right? But it will be labeled gula aren, gula jawa, gula kelapa, okay? They all will work fine. And essentially, if you don't have this, you can use what we call demerara sugar or soft brown sugar, okay? I'll just open it up and show you. But unfortunately, to the Thais, palm sugar means something a little bit different. I'll go and show you. Okay, so this is a Thai palm sugar, okay? You can see. Let me just open up the gula aren first so you can see it. So in this instance, basically, Malaysia, Indonesia, and even Vietnam, right, will give you the same product, okay, which is a dark brown, soft, tubular palm sugar.
Pressure will be released now.
Okay, let me just show you. So this is a Malaysian, Indonesian, Vietnamese palm sugar. And if you see it, if I just press it down, it's quite soft, okay? You can just kind of like make little dents in it if you press hard enough, okay? And this here is Thai palm sugar, okay? They sometimes come in larger discs than this, but essentially that's what they look like. That's their color profile, and they're quite hard, okay? You can't actually kind of like try and break it down with your hands, okay? So you can just hear it. Okay, so Thai palm sugar is quite hard, and I got caught out once because I had to, I was flown to Melbourne by Tourism Malaysia to do some cooking demonstrations, and they had an Asian grocery importer offer to supply me, that were connected with Tourism Malaysia, not connected with me, that offered to supply the ingredients for my cooking demonstrations, and I had on my list palm sugar. And like I said, being Malaysian,
Pressure will be released now.
I expected something like this, right? I showed up on the morning of the cooking demonstration, and 5 minutes before I went on air, I went in front of a live audience. I realized they'd given me something like this. Okay, so I kind of made fun of it to the audience, but it got me into so much trouble because the company that supplied it thought I was being ungrateful, that I got kicked out of the entire event. So basically I spent the rest of that weekend in Melbourne doing nothing because they would not let me back on stage because I said supposedly something derogatory about the company that supplied me with the wrong palm sugar. So that's how sensitive, I mean, and that company is actually from China, right? So that's how sensitive some people can be that you deal with, and that's why I tend to, that's why I'm an itinerant kind of like you know, cook. Basically, I'm not, you know, tied to any kind of like loyalty to any brands, because when you are, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of.
Pressure will be released now.
It defeats the whole purpose of kind of like going your own way and you know. Yeah, sort of thing. Yeah, instead of working for your corporate boss, you're working for somebody else. So that's not fun. But anyway, that's the palm sugar. Like I said, thanks for following, Daniel. So that's the palm sugar. Like I said, very soft and mushy. You can just use, like I said, demerara sugar for this, okay? Because we're actually going to boil this down. I'm just going to add some water to this. So we're going to boil this down, and you know what, I'm going to add a pinch of salt to this, okay? We like to kind of like temper the salt actually brings out some of the sweetness in even in a dessert, okay? And I'm going to boil this down until it's completely dissolved, and then I'm going to add other stuff to it. But just let me have a quick look at something online.
Pressure will be released now.
Okay. Brooklyn, who is Wyatt's mom, is trying to watch this, but apparently she can't. But I hope the rest of you aren't having that trouble. So this is just going to simmer down. I'm not going to be using all of it, but I just wanted to show you guys what they look like. So usually they'll come in 2 logs like these, right? 2 halves of a log. And this will dissolve quite quickly, and sometimes you don't always use it dissolved. Obviously, sometimes you can just crumble it, and to crumble it, you can just stick it in your blender, your food processor, your like thermal cook in my case, and just kind of like zip it a couple of seconds, and it will turn out crumbly, and then you can use it for other stuff. So sometimes you can form it into like into marble-sized balls that we then use as stuffing for like these sticky rice flour dumplings, right? What we call onde-onde, or what they call in Indonesian, what do they call it in Indonesian? Somebody will tell me. Same dish, but goes by a different name in Indonesia. I'm trying to remember now. Somebody in Indonesia will kill me for it. And that you'll find as well with Southeast Asian cooking that, you know, you'll find that to be the case. Like what we call laksa in Malaysia will have a very similar cousin to it in other parts of Asia. Okay, in Burma they've got something called mohinga, and I've made that before, and that's kind of like a Burmese version of laksa, kind of like a simplified version of laksa. And then I went to Thailand in Chiang Mai, and they had something. I did a video for it. I can't remember what it's called. But that's also quite similar to laksa. I need a wooden spoon, so I shall be back. So guys, don't forget, go and help Wyatt by going find out the details on how you can help Wyatt. You can either buy a cookbook from me, or you can donate directly to his GoFundMe page. Details on both can be found at the Help Wyatt link, which is a bit.ly link, bit.ly/helpwyatt, all lowercase, right? And like I said, there'll be links there to either buy my cookbook, all the proceeds go towards Wyatt's family, or to the GoFundMe page to help support the family. You can look, $5 a cup of coffee, you know, the price of a cup of coffee will get you in the running to win one of these pressure cookers. Okay, still got 8 minutes to go on that. I thought it was done, but apparently it's not. Okay, so this is dissolving. And I guess I put about a cup of water in there to one of the logs, okay, essentially half a packet of the palm sugar. Okay, so this is completely dissolved, and it will actually kind of thicken up when it cools down. It really depends on what you use it for. If you want something quite caramelly, okay, you can just simmer it down till it's thicker, but just keep in mind that when it cools down, it will thicken up slightly as well, okay? And the other thing you've got to keep in mind is that once it comes to boiling point, it will kind of like froth up quite quickly. So just be very, very careful that it doesn't overflow. And I don't know if you can see it here. Okay, so let's turn this off. I'm going to tip out half of it, and we're going to use the other half. And the other thing I've got to mention with palm sugar is that we Asians tend to find palm sugar to be less sweet than white sugar. So in a lot of recipes, they would suggest topping it up with a bit of white sugar as well. Whereas Westerners generally, I find just from having, like I said, you know, run a Malaysian food business for 25 years, that Westerners tend to find palm sugar to be a lot sweeter than white sugar. I don't know whether it's just, you know, they're having to get used to the flavor. So let me take out half of this. And this will store in a jar out of the fridge for weeks, okay? Is that enough? Yeah, I think that's enough. So this is what it looks like. Like I said, it will thicken up, okay? And if once it cools down, you find that it's still not thick enough, throw it back in the saucepan and simmer it some more till it thickens up some more, okay? So got that. I'm going to turn this back on, and now I'm going to add the durian in, okay? This is frozen seedless durian. And if you're not familiar with durian, like I said, it's kind of like what we Malaysians refer to as the king of fruits, okay? And durian is popular in Southeast Asia. This is from Thailand. Generally, Malaysians find Thai durian to be lower quality, okay? I hope no one's watching this is from Thailand. But in Malaysia, we have different varieties of durian, right? So the most popular variety is something we call Musang King, right? This is not it. This is the generic Thai, they call it Montong durian. The reason why Malaysians aren't big fans of this is because, okay, this can open up, is because Malaysians tend to find this durian to be a little bit one-dimensional in its flavor. And also they tend to find that it's a little bit watery, okay? So this is okay if you were making ice cream, you were making pancakes or whatever, but to eat straight out of a packet, Malaysians generally find that they prefer Malaysian durian, okay? Like I said, and also the Malaysian varieties of durian, the most popular ones are what's called D24, okay? So that's like literally a code, D24, or Musang King, which is described as the king of durians. Musang King is very, very expensive here in Australia anyway. So that's one of those things that are kind of considered a luxury. A pack like this, this Thai variety cost how many grams? This is 400 grams. A pack like this, 400 grams, cost about 10 bucks Aussie, right? Musang King, a pack of 280 grams, I believe, cost 30 bucks, right? So you can imagine, so it costs essentially a lot more than Thai. Look at how beautifully this has turned out. I'm going to take this out and show you guys. Hang on a sec. Okay, so this is just perfect, right? You see this? So basically I cooked it on the porridge setting in this pressure cooker. Let me just taste test this. Okay, no soaking required. So go and help Wyatt, pay $5 upwards to donate to his parents' gas and accommodation and all that for this upcoming medical trip, and hopefully at least a couple of other upcoming medical trips as well. And you'll be in a chance to win one of these. This is, like I said, it's called an Optimum Pressure Cook Pro, and it's distributed by Prestige Home Appliances. .com.au, and they have very kindly donated one of these to one lucky winner who will help Wyatt, okay? Delivery Australia-wide. So I'm going to add the sticky rice in here. I'm going to put a bit more in there. Like I said, if you don't have durian, use bananas, use whatever you like, right? So in goes the rice, and now I'm going to add coconut cream. Okay. This is a... I know this sounds really lame. I don't actually know what this dish is called, but they do make it in the east coast of Malaysia, okay? This isn't something that you would encounter if you went to... You probably won't encounter it if you went to Kuala Lumpur. But I was in Kuala Lumpur one year, many years ago, and there was this exhibition. I forget which East Coast state of Malaysia was in Kuala Lumpur to promote that state as a tourist destination. And they made this, and it was just delicious. So that's what I'm making. Okay, let's go with this. So coconut cream in there. So this is basically like a durian, sticky rice, coconut, palm sugar porridge, okay? You want to cook it till it's quite dry and sticky, almost like a dumpling consistency, okay? I think I need more rice in this. And it, you know, in spite of the really dark brown color, it does taste like it could use more sweetness. So I might add some sugar, some white sugar to it. So let me add a bit more rice. To add white sugar. Here it is. And it tastes to me like it could use a little bit more salt as well. Daniel, what are you making there? Awesome. Cool. So, generous pinch of salt. you've ever been intrigued with sticky rice or glutinous rice and didn't, you know, were put off by the fact that you have to soak it for 8 hours before use, get yourself one of these. It's Optimum Pressure Cook Pro. Okay, this is what it's called. It's kind of like, if you're American, you would know the Instant Pot, right? It's like the Instant Pot, but better because this is induction. And also, I don't know how an Instant Pot works, but this one has a lot more features, I'm told, right? But this is a very new appliance to me, so I'm still playing around with it. I'm going to shoot a video that shows all its features, okay? But go and support prestigehomeappliances.com.au. They're the people who are supporting Wyatt. So by offering this as a giveaway to one person who's supporting Wyatt, okay? So let's just cook this up. And you want to kind of like, make sure you don't burn this, but at the same time you want to thicken it up to the point, like I said, where it's like, you know, it's not like, at the moment it's very, very soft, okay? You want to cook it to the point where it's basically stuck together, and you would serve it by just scooping a couple of scoops on banana leaves. I don't have banana leaves today. Wrap it up, and then you can actually just tear it apart, okay? So it should be that texture. If you've got any questions, hit me up, and I will try my best to answer it. And guess what, guys? I got invited to be a Huffington Post contributor. So I'm gonna be, I write a lot, but really random stuff. Some of the stuff I wrote, like, you know, years ago, I'm kind of really embarrassed to reshare them, because it's like my writing style has changed. Even stuff I wrote 6 months ago, I was like, did I really write that? That sounded really like, you know, self-absorbed or something like that. So, but I do write a lot, and I write all over the place at the moment, but I'm going to start writing at HuffPo, okay? And I've titled the blog, what do I call it? The Misadventures of an Accidental Celebrity Chef, okay? So I feel very, very weird about calling myself a celebrity chef. I have it like in inverted commas. But, you know, I've seen people with 100 followers call themselves celebrity chefs, so I might as well. So, just like I said, I want to thicken this up, and this should actually thicken up some more when it cools down as well. And just for the record, I do have followers, all right? I've got 1.9 million followers across all my social media platforms. I'm actually very, very new on Twitch, so if you're wondering who I am, I have been around for a while, but I've only been on Twitch for weeks, okay? But yeah, I do have followers on other platforms. But I just thought I might have a go at live streaming on Twitch for a change. Okay, you see it's thickening up, right? And again, if you're watching this anywhere else, or even if you're watching on Twitch, don't forget to follow me here, right? My Twitch URL, the short URL is just jackiem.live, right? But the long URL, if you're on Twitch yourself, and you're more comfortable with the Twitch URL, it is twitch.tv/JackieMFood, okay? I know it's confusing, but I figured jackiem.live would be easier to remember, but, you know, I don't know if it works, because, I mean, I've got, like I said, I'm very new on Twitch, but it's not like everyone's making a beeline to follow me there from my other platforms. It's a tough gig, this whole online stuff. Okay, so thickening up. This is getting there, nearly there. Someone's messaged me. Just hang on a sec. Let me move this aside. Okay, I'm going to go to my mother-in-law's and use her. We don't have Wi-Fi at home. We use our data. Okay, cool. That was Wyatt's mom again. Okay, so this is. You see it? I know this looks nasty, right? But you know what, Malaysian food is really tough to make Malaysian food look nice sometimes, you know, depending on the dish. And a lot of time I post food dishes and people make fun of it online, but you know, this looks like brown mush. So if you've got any ideas how to pretty this up, let me know. Because I can imagine getting a lot of snarky comments about this one. But trust me, it tastes great, or it should do. Let me just get a spoon to try it. Perfect. Okay, this is pretty much done. So it's almost like a kind of like, I don't know how you describe this texture-wise. Like a firm porridge, I guess. Okay. It kind of tastes to me like it needs more of that durian. Don't know if I should add it in. Doesn't matter. We'll leave it. Okay. So there you go. I'll find out the name of this dish when I post the recipe. I just can't remember what it's called, but it was something very, very exotic. Malaysia has so much diversity in its food that it's kind of hard to keep track of what's what. Okay, so next up, I'm going to use the rice for the savory, and I'm contemplating a couple of different ways to use that savory serunding, okay, the desiccated coconut. So let me think about it. Hang on. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of a fusion thing here, so I'm trying to find my Japanese seaweed. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me just try and hit up the ad while I dig around for it. They'll just give me a 30-second break. Okay, back in 30 seconds. Okay, are we back? Cool, we are back. Okay, I'm gonna have a couple of different ways to use up the sticky rice with that serunding, the coconut, the spicy coconut sambal, right? And one of them is using Japanese seaweed over here. Let me have a look. Okay, now traditionally, you would use banana leaves, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I don't have banana leaves. So let's have a go. This is a brand new sushi rolling sheet. Let's have a go at making sushi out of this, okay? So bought this at like some Japanese $2 store. I don't make sushi. By the way, speaking of sushi, if you guys are, if you guys watch a lot of watching cooking streams, right? A couple I would recommend would be The Hunger Service. The Hunger Service, one word, twitch.tv/The Hunger Service. This guy is a former sushi chef, and he broadcasts like 5 times a week. So he's a lot more prolific than I am. He's and he does really, really interesting stuff. Some American Asian stuff and some just Western stuff, okay? The other one I would recommend is one called R. Patra, R-P-A-T-R-A, and he's a professional cook during the day, and then he comes home at night and he spends a couple of hours cooking. It's dedication for you. So this is, I don't know if this is going to turn out, by the way. It should do. I can't see why not. But usually we would, like I said, we would be using, instead of seaweed, we would actually be using banana leaves here, okay? And for whatever reason, my chat is not loading up. So just give me a second while I hop onto my computer and try and do a screen refresh. Okay, so this is your usual, you can find this easily at your Asian grocery store. But like I said, just give me a second while I hop over and refresh my screen. Okay, so got this. And usually with sushi, you would use sushi rice. This is not sushi rice, this is sticky rice, okay? And don't forget, get yourself an Optimum Pressure Cook Pro. Go check out Prestige Home Appliances and check out the specs of this and support the company that supports people like Wyatt, okay? And if you're just joining me now and you're wondering who's Wyatt, go and visit my write-up about it. The short link is just bit.ly/help-Wyatt, all lowercase, okay? And there'll be a link, there'll be 2 links there on how you can help him. One is directly to his GoFundMe page, and the other is to buy one of my cookbooks. All the proceeds will go to his family. And why do we need to help him? We need to help him because he's sick and his parents don't need to travel because doctors don't know what's wrong with him. They've had to travel once a month in the last 10 months since he was born. And basically they had to sell their wedding ring set for their last trip, and this trip they're actually selling like more stuff from their house on a yard sale on the weekend, okay? That's how badly they need funds to pay for their petrol and for their accommodation and some food as well when they're traveling, right? So we're not trying to, like I said, we're not sending them off to swim at wells or nothing fancy like that. Okay, so rice in the middle here. Like I said, usually I would use banana leaves. Banana leaves tend to be more solid, okay? I don't make sushi, guys, so if this breaks up, you'll know why, okay? But usually banana leaves, if we're using banana leaves, usually they say with banana leaves, right, to soften it over a flame or scald it in hot water or something like that. I don't usually bother with all that unless it is very, very stiff, in which case I zap it in the microwave a little bit, okay? But usually I find that when I'm making this, the rice, the heat from the rice will soften the banana leaves, okay? So that kind of like does its job for you already. I'm going to get some of that sambar that I made earlier. Okay, so this is the coconut sambal, okay? So this is all vegan today. I'm not a vegan, so, you know, I'm just doing it for my vegan followers. And if you want more vegan content, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to like go back to doing what I do best, which is non-vegan stuff. But if you're just joining me now, this sambal or serunding, all right, is made from shredded coconut, garlic, onion, some lemongrass, okay? You can leave out the lemongrass if you can't get hold of it, and also some curry powder, okay? And also some chili, and then all the seasoning as well, okay? So this is what it looks like, and we're going to put some in the middle of this. Okay, so usually if I were doing this, when I used to sell this, right, like I said, first of all, I would use banana leaves. Second of all, this filling would actually not just contain shredded coconut, it also would contain minced dried shrimp, okay? So you can add other non-vegan stuff to this if you want, okay? You can add minced dried shrimp, you can add minced meat, you can add minced fresh shrimp if you like, okay? So this is what I used to do, and then I didn't use a sushi roll thing. I would just basically fold it up like this and kind of like hold it in place and then roll it up. Okay, like I say, with banana leaf, not sushi sheet, okay? And if you want, you can, because we're using a sushi sheet here, with a banana leaf, you would actually, I'm just using a bit of that rice to kind of like act as an adhesive to hold it in place. You know, Speaking of which, I should do the whole length really. If you were using banana leaf, you don't actually eat the banana leaf, okay? So this is what it would look like if this were a banana leaf. What I would do is actually pinch the edges and secure them with either bamboo toothpicks or with staples, okay? In all honesty, I used to secure it with staples, okay? And then what we would use to do, so we'll have like all these rows and rows of banana leaf wrapped sticky rice rolls, right? And when I sold them at the markets, we would throw them on the grill. Every time we get an order, we'll throw it on the grill. It's kind of like, and what happens is the flavor from the banana leaves just kind of like get infused into the rice, right? And then, yeah, the way you would eat it is you would like remove the banana leaf and eat it either like this or just break it up or something like that. But because we've got this as a sushi roll, let's cut it up. I don't have the best knife here. Any knife sponsors, come and talk to me. Okay, so basically this is like a dinky little sushi, right? But with Malaysian flavors. And if you wanted to, you could have added like coconut cream into the rice to give it a nicer coconutty flavor, or you could have added coconut cream into this as well, okay? So that's how I would approach this. Okay, so these are not like very pretty sushi because like I said, you know, I'm not a sushi chef. But these are some ideas you can play with some of these Malaysian flavors, okay? And let's make another one. Who here has access to banana leaves? It's so hard to get hold of here in Sydney. You have to get them from specialist Asian grocery stores, and even the grocery store that I do my commercial basically shopping at, where I basically place my commercial orders, you have to specially order it in, okay? They just don't get enough demand for banana leaves for them to actually stock them, because they wilt and then they, you know, they look bad, so they don't last very long on the shelf. You used to be able to buy frozen banana leaves, but I find that once they're frozen, it completely changes the, you know, their look and texture. So it just doesn't look good, and it becomes wet and sloppy as well when it's defrosted. So I don't even see frozen banana leaves anymore, probably because other people found that to be the case as well. But yeah, usually we would wrap it with banana leaves and then peel off the banana leaves before we eat it. We'll also throw it on the grill a little bit just to infuse the whole roll with a bit of a banana leaf flavor, okay? And I get people sometimes ask me, because when I used to sell this at the market, I get the occasional person ask me whether they're supposed to eat the banana leaves. No, you're not. Okay, it's just there as a wrapper. And banana leaves were so expensive that I stopped making this and another dish that I used banana leaves for. There was one time when a box of banana leaves, 10-kilo box of banana leaves, which isn't, it sounds like a lot, 10 kilos is not, okay? I was told it was going to cost me 170 bucks. Did I want it or not? And I told my supplier, no, skip it. So I stopped making this. So it was basically effectively such that the banana leaf, the wrapper itself for this dish was going to cost more than the dish itself. So it's just kind of like a bit silly, you know. But in Malaysia, look, you can stop by the roadside and pick your own banana leaves practically. Just not in Sydney. So I'm just using a bit of the rice here to stick the sushi roll together. I would not be doing this step if I were using banana leaf, because I would just be holding it up like this and then just pinching the edges and stapling both ends. And I actually had someone eat something wrapped in banana leaf once. Like I said, you don't eat the banana leaf, okay? I had someone leave a really angry voice message for me at my restaurant one time saying that they basically tried to eat the banana leaf, okay? And then braces, the staple that I used to secure this with got caught in the braces, and that woman was freaking out and yelling at me. So there you go. Don't eat the banana leaves. And yes, using staples is actually quite common, okay? It's not ideal, but you know, it just seems to do a better job and a faster job when you're making, like, you know, these like in mass quantities. And you know, because when you use toothpicks, sometimes they break up the banana leaves, and unfortunately with sticky rice, once it's gone cold and it's exposed to air, it starts to crust up, okay? So whatever it is you're making, you know, if you've got rice wrapped in banana leaves, if the leaves starts to split over here, you'll find that the rice starts to get crusty, and you pretty much have to eat that or throw it out or scrape off the rice, okay? So if you're using staples, that happens less often. Okay. Clearly I need better sushi skills, because the filling's not even centered. Okay. So that's this here. And the other way you can use this, right, is you've got the filling over here. If you want to like bypass the trouble, or you don't want to buy you don't want to buy seaweed or banana leaves, this is what you can do. So you got the filling. Usually, in all honesty, you would do this with when the filling is a bit drier. I mentioned, if you're just watching this now, I mentioned earlier that you can actually cook the filling till it's more dry, right? Or you can leave it quite wet like it is now. But what you would do, you got the rice over here. You can get this amount of rice and pinch it into a bowl, whatever size you like, okay? And then toss it. Let me just close this up. Just toss it in the serunding, okay? The coconut thing, right? So again, make it into a bowl and throw it in there. Let's do another one. Okay, you can make smaller bowls if you like as well. This is something that kids can do in the kitchen. This is so easy. Okay. Okay, so this is like just basically compact sticky rice, right? And just toss it in here. Let me get a nicer bowl to show you what it looks like. Noah, my baby Noah broke one of my beautiful IKEA bowls that I bought like literally a week ago. He broke it in less than a week, just on just Wednesday's broadcast. So I'm going to have to make another trip to IKEA because I really like that bowl. I should have had the foresight to buy more than one, knowing what Noah's like. And yes, I do buy my crockery individually because I use them for food photography. So I don't buy a set of like 6 dinner plates of the same sort of thing. I'll buy one. Yeah, I'll go to like the Salvation Army store and buy another one there or something like that. And this is something I only started doing a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of fun once you get into the whole food photography thing. Okay. Boo. Okay, so another one. You guys watched me more than once. Come and say hello and tell me who you are, where you're watching from. Or even if you're new here. I'm new here on Twitch, in case you're wondering. Okay, so you can actually add more topping on this, right? Let me just pretty this up. I need some color to show some contrast on this. So let me just go and grab some chili and some greens for this. Hang on a sec. Okay, so I've got some green onion here, or what they sometimes call spring onions, or what you guys call, what do Americans call this again? Not shallots, something else, I forget now. So I've got a couple of chilies. They're from the market stall I attended yesterday. I'm at markets every Thursday Australian time, in case you're wondering. Some people wonder where I disappeared to. That's because my day starts at 6 AM on market day. And basically I cook and sell Malaysian food at my market stall. I used to do a lot more of these. I used to have a restaurant. In fact, I gave it up to look after my Down syndrome kid, Noah, who's at preschool today, thankfully, because he is very, very disruptive. But yeah, sometimes people wonder why I disappear to on Thursdays, but it's kind of like the one day of the week where I have to, where my schedule is non-negotiable. Hang on a sec. Any comments? Shout out from Western Sydney. Hey, Western Sydney, good to see you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's so great. You gotta be, this is the first shout out from Western Sydney. I grew up in Western Sydney. Well, technically southwestern Sydney. I grew up I didn't grow up, I grew up in Malaysia in all honesty. I was 17 and a half when I came to Australia, but I grew up around the Cabramatta, Liverpool area. Hey, Maestro, good to see you. Small onion leeks, okay. Leeks in Australia are bigger. Okay, this is like this is a big fat, what I used to call spring onion until fairly recently when I became ambassador for this group of vegetable wholesalers, and I'm told they actually call this green onion. Apparently spring onion has an onion bulb at the bottom. So go figure, right? I bet I'm not the only person who's had them confused before, but yeah, so there you go. So that's one way to present the sticky rice, okay, with the serunding or the coconut shreds over it. Or you can make them into sushi rolls, right? My really ugly sushi rolls because they're not properly scented. But you know, like it's kind of like when you have sushi and they have that pink fish floss thing. It's similar to that, right? But with coconut, right? Because vegan day today, don't forget. And like I said, if there's no interest in vegan food, right? I've been plodding along doing vegan food because I had someone who was basically an aspiring vegan who wanted to do this show with me, and she said, yeah, let's do Fridays and we'll do vegan Fridays, and she's disappeared and I've chased her up a couple of times. But I'm on my own, so I've been trying to stick with the whole vegan thing, but it's not really kind of like something that I am like dedicated to, unless there is somebody in there. Just found your channel, looks great. Thank you, thanks so much, right? Haircut. So there you go. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. Got that. And this sticky rice thing, you can see once it's cooled down, it's completely like semi-solid now. So this smells very durian-y, right? So just to recap, what we did today was we used my fantastic new Optimum induction, I need to get the name straight, Optimum Induction Pressure Cook Pro. Okay, so this is powered by induction, which means that it saves energy, but it's got like tons of functions here. And the reason I'm giving them a shout out is because prestigehomeappliances.com.au have stepped up to the plate to help Wyatt. See my hashtag, or let me move that out of the way because it's not helpful. Okay, the Prestige Home Appliances have stepped up to the plate to help Wyatt. Wyatt is this kid I came across by virtue of my association with this support group for parents of kids who survived a condition called hydrops fatalis, which my own kid survived, okay, my own kid's Noah. So I came across a post by Wyatt's parents basically asking for ideas on how to fund their medical expenses, okay? And then I found out, like I said, look, why don't I've got a bunch of cookbooks in my garage that I self-published years ago. They're just sitting there. Why don't I sell them and give you the money, sort of thing, right? And then I found out after that, I sent out an email. I had a bunch of people order the cookbook, which was fantastic of you guys. So thank you so much. Mostly Malaysians, mind you. So Aussies, step up. Everyone else, step up. But also, after I put out my post, the mom set up a GoFundMe page. So that wasn't in my original email. If you're on my mailing list, that wasn't in my original email, but she's since set up a GoFundMe page. So I blogged about it. So the blog post is at bit.ly/help Wyatt, all lowercase, okay? That will take you to my blog post, and it does have a link added for the GoFundMe, okay? If you don't care for my cookbook, or you know, you just want to throw $5, you don't want to spend $10 on the cookbook, you just want to throw $5 their way, please do so, because I found out after all that as well that the parents have had to travel out of town like once a month at least for the last 10 months since Wyatt was born, to go see specialists to try and figure out what's wrong with him. In the meantime, he's suffering. And in so doing, basically the funds are depleted, and their last trip they had to sell their wedding rings to pay for the gas and accommodation. Can you imagine? When was the last time you sold your wedding rings, right? For anything, let alone to just pay for gas and accommodation to take your kid to see the doctors. So that's pretty sad. But Prestige Home Appliances, I contacted them about half an hour before I went live on air. I said, look, hi guys, I'm using one of this in this broadcast. How do you feel about me offering this as a giveaway to one person who donates to Wyatt's medical costs, okay? Either by buying a cookbook or by going directly to the GoFundMe and paying that directly. That will basically, you can then be in the running to win one of these. Cyan's going to post a couple of other conditions in there because Cyan's fabulous like that. Basically just to share it on social media and tag, like hashtag help Wyatt, that sort of stuff, right? But yeah, if you can, just like I say, you know, for the price of a coffee, you can help some kid get the medical care he needs, okay? No kid deserves to suffer like that. No parent needs to go through that. I know what it's like because Noah was sick for 217 days in hospital when he was first born, okay? So I know what it's like to her to have a, you know, have things really rough when they start out. Yeah, depending by region, you always show a vegan and non-vegan version of dish so everyone can make it either way. Yeah, vegan stuff. Okay, I don't want to put off the vegans by actually cooking non-vegan stuff live on air, okay? So that's why I've kept the recipe vegan, but I've given you some options, like I said, with the serunding, the coconut shred with the sambal and all that. You can actually add like you know, non-vegan stuff to it. So it's basically shredded coconut and onion and garlic and spices in it at the moment, but you can, like I said, add mincemeat. You can even add cooked, like you've got leftover shredded chicken or something, like leftover barbecue chicken, leftover roast meat or something, just kind of like shred it up and toss it in with the coconut, or you can add like seafood in there. Just make sure it's minced so that you can roll it up, right? And sticky rice. How long did it take? Half an hour in the pressure cook. So that's without having to soak it for 8 hours. Like you see in every recipe that calls for sticky rice, also known as glutinous rice, right? You'll see it as a soak it overnight or soak it whatever. And half the time you think, well, I need to have this ready in 2 hours, not like tomorrow morning, okay? But if you have one of these, you can do it within half an hour. So beautiful, guys. Got any questions, hit me up. Don't forget, check out prestigehomeappliances.com.au. Otherwise, share my link about Wyatt's story, bit.ly/help Wyatt, all lowercase. And the parents, like I said, are traveling out of town next weekend. Okay, so we don't have much time. We want to rally behind them and help them, you know, pay for not just this trip, but hopefully just give them a buffer that can carry over them for a little bit as well. It sounds like the mom may have lost her shifts at her job because of the disruption with her kids and all that as well. So it's all very, very sad. Look, I'm not the kind of like bleeding heart person who usually goes out of my way to do this, right? I grew up in a society where, like, I grew up in a country where if you don't work, you don't eat, basically, and there's no social safety net and that sort of stuff. But like I said, you know, having gone through what I went through with Noah, I appreciate how people need a helping hand sometimes, right? So please help Wyatt. Look, I gotta tell you one thing, guys. The other day I posted this at this women's group online, where just 2 days prior, another woman had posted about how she posted a video. I didn't watch it, right? Just by the gist of some of the comments, essentially what it was she had a tough upbringing. I think she was abused as a kid, which is terrible. But she was asking for people to fund her $3,500 trip to go swim with whales. Okay, that's why I've been making references to swimming with whales. Okay. And a lot of people stepped up. But when I posted about Wyatt, not one single person even liked my post. And in fact, I think maybe the admins actually deleted it. So I don't know what criteria they use as to, you know, I'm not doing this for my own benefit. I'm not asking for $3,500. And I'm not asking to swim with the whales, okay? I'm asking to pay for petrol for this kid's medical needs, right? So please step up and please help Wyatt. And please support prestigehomeappliances.com.au. Check out their range, right? So I've got the induction pressure cook pro, and I might have something else in the works, all right? Depending on how many people step up to help Wyatt, right? I do have a backup price that I can actually offer as well, also from Prestige Home Appliances. So go and have a look at their website, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for this, and I will see you. My next broadcast technically will be Monday, my time, same time Monday. But if I've got time, I might actually run other broadcasts as well. So keep an eye. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch, which is just JackieM.live, which is the short URL that redirects to my Twitch page. Otherwise, twitch.tv/JackieMFood, and spread the word and tell everyone about it. Thank you so much, guys. I'll catch you again. Ciao.